no one here for public comment session, we will move forward from that. We've had an opportunity to see the minutes already, and do I have a motion for approval of those minutes?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And is there any discussion or questions or comments? Okay, all in favor for approval of the minutes say aye.
Aye.
And that moves us to vouchers. We need a motion for approval of the vouchers
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
And discussion and explanations. Mr. General Manager, anything that you need to draw to our attention?
You know, and I appreciate you asking that because if there was, I would. But most of this is routine. I don't know, Dusty. There's nothing out of the ordinary that I've seen on this. Anything that you need to comment?
No, no.
Mostly routine. Everything routine.
Okay. Anybody have a question about any item? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of approval of vouchers say yes.
Yes.
Yes, and that motion passes. And that brings us to the monthly report. So do I have a motion to discuss these?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And Mr. General Manager, will you go over those with us,
I'll be
please?
happy to, Madam Chair. Thank you. I was instructed by our Director of Accounting and Finance, since this is such a healthy month for electric, that he would like to take it, and I could just sit quietly. So, Dusty, if you don't care to share some of
Sure.
that good news, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I'm pleased to inform everybody that we were able to save over $118,000 on our monthly TVA power bill through our peak shaving program by reducing almost 11 megawatts during our peak hours. As a result, we achieved a record-breaking monthly savings for the electric department. The month of December saw consistently cold weather, resulting in a 64% load factor. In addition, we were able to decrease our operating and maintenance expenses, which, when combined, resulted in a net margin of over $636,000. Our water and sewer departments continue to generate a positive net margin and exceed the forecast by $230,000.
Thank you. Good month.
It
It's
is.
we're thankful for it. I got to tell you, it's all good. Record on the peak shaving. Todd was able to pull that out. I think December we were at 83, and this January we were at 118, and that's the highest savings for a virtual power plant for that same period. It kicked it up to what, like 140?
Overall, the total virtual power plant for January is 143,000.
Yeah.
So
So I mean that's significant.
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 Sure is.
We'll be able to and happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
Any comments or questions from anybody? Okay, all in favor of approval of these reports say yes.
yes.
Yes. And that passes unanimously. And now the project status reports, we certainly don't need approval, but we'd like the information.
Thank you, Madam Chair. They're easy because there's been a little bit of a slowdown because of the weather. The snow put us behind for a while, but Todd tells me that despite that, these are both scheduled for completion by March, and he doesn't see that schedule needs to be revised. He still believes we'll be able to meet that. These are two projects that we're following that we have discussed before, and any questions on those, I'll defer to Todd to answer.
Any questions or comments? Okay, I believe we're good with that. And that we move on now to the approval of a work order. Do I have a motion to discuss this?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
And Mr. General Manager, will you go over the work order for us?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have in the budget for this project $325,000, and we always then go through a process to refine that when we're ready to issue a work order. Todd has done that with his folks, and including a 10% contingency, we still look to be at $309,000, which is below what the budget number is, and Todd really hopes that we will be able to get below that because we'll be using our own forces to do this. but it's 1.2 miles. We're changing out the conductor there with this number 2 ACSR primary cable, which has worked really well for us. And this is going to increase our capacity and improve reliability. It's all part of our ongoing commitment to the highest quality of service that we can provide. And every time when we do a retirement of conductor, we always put back a margin in order to be able to switch, which then complements our Flizzer system. So this project, I recommend that the board approve for $309,375.
Okay, any questions from anybody?
What's the time frame? Did you say that for start to completion?
We anticipate starting this really when these other two projects here end, so somewhere late March, early April, and being done by the end of June.
Okay, thanks.
Any others? Okay, all in favor of approval of this work order, say yes.
Yes.
And that motion is passes. And then other business, Mr. Fay?
Well, I have some, and I tried to break this down because it's a little bit. I broke it down to the Oak Ridge National Lab, and I broke it down to TVA. So on the Oak Ridge National Lab, and this is since our last board meeting, Todd and I met with Mandu Chintavala. He's the head of the energy systems integration at the lab. I told you last time we were trying to set that meeting up, that went very well, and it lasted quite a long time. He is really impressive piece of work, very personable. I think we can get along really well. His interest is in our ability to dynamically regulate our voltage, and as well as design how we have designed and the functionality of our Flizzer system. And he expressed a strong interest in our virtual power plant and how we integrate it into TVA's power grid, which helps them maintain their grid stability. We did this in this last snowstorm that we had, and certainly we were very effective in Winter Storm Elliott last year. So currently he has requested that he wants to organize his team, and he would like a more detailed discussion and if possible, come and tour our operation so we can demonstrate the functionality of our virtual power plant and our Flizzer system. So that's in the making, as they say. And then on the 23rd, Todd and I had our first meeting here at Cub with Tim Daniels and his team. Great chemistry. What a great guy he is. We got along really well, and he's working with ORNL and the Department of Energy to develop and evaluate the effectiveness of new communication solutions on utility infrastructure that can demonstrate how legacy grid communication infrastructure and operation paradigms can be updated to support the coordination of DERS, which is distributed energy resources, which we are on the cutting edge of. That went really well, and we spent several hours discussing the matter, and he also, with his team, toured our operations center, and we decided, based on that meeting, that we could take the next step and proceed to determine if we could achieve what we called a win-win situation. The very next week, he brings his team back and asks for a meeting, and we did, and in the meantime, he sent us a next step checklist. So he returned to us on the 31st of January, late in the afternoon, and we worked till early in the evening anyway. It was a long time. And we wanted to determine whether or not it was worth our benefit and theirs to proceed with this project. He had already spent, and I've already spent a significant amount of time reviewing DOE's what they call notice of intent. It's a 98-page document outlining Cub's responsibilities and commitment. I put that in a folder. It's a piece of work, I've got to tell you. And along with that, 18 pages of a checklist to get a unique entity ID. Now, some of you boys and ladies may be familiar with how all that works, but I mean, it's a challenge. So I told him that's not a deal breaker for us if we could demonstrate that it was a win for our ratepayers for us to invest our energy and resources into this project. I needed to see how all of that distilled out to where it's a gain. I can see the gain on their part. It's about 4.5 million federal funds that they can allocate to that. And I would love to work with this guy because I really like him. The thing is, we couldn't, and as hard as we all tried, we couldn't make a pathway forward that would make sense for us. This is more R&D, which would help the nation, which is great. We don't have, because it would best be Todd and I, we don't have that ability to devote that much time because at the end of the day, I don't see where our ratepayers would benefit from that. And
Charge them a consulting fee.
well, and they would be glad to do that. The thing is, it would require a significant amount of time, and we are neck deep into TVA and trying to help them work 153. We were in Nashville yesterday. Todd and I were in Nashville yesterday. We've got meetings coming up. That's coming in the next section. The bottom line is for Tim, what he, again, great guy, he was so impressed. And you can talk to him, Mr. Clapp, and make sure that I'm not blowing smoke. But he wants to do a project with us. He says that he's going to diligently work to see how he can carve out a piece because I told him the go no go is at the end of the day, it's got to benefit our ratepayers at CUB. I mean, the wider benefit is great. Public power, we're all about that, but it can't be a significant negative to us, and it would be if we devoted that much energy and resources to that. We talked about that. We've got a spare room, and we'd have to set them up in a room, and it's a big thing. So I don't know that will ever. I think it'll evolve into something else, but for the 98 pages and 18 pages worth of checklist, that's not going to happen right now.
Hey, quick question. So, is that something that you could could you subcontract it out to somebody that knows you all really well that could help be the broker and be the facilitator and do the technical work that y'all would feel comfortable with, but there would only be a dedicated resource to that, and y'all just oversee the project and oversee that? Like, I'm thinking Ernie.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think another part of it is, in addition to the time commitment, is the financial commitment. It's a match. In the initial phase, which is a 20% match we're responsible for. The final phase, I think the point was 80% match on our part. So there's a financial commitment into the millions possibly.
So
on
is
it as
that
well.
but is that like, so are they, that's, I guess I didn't understand that part. So it's beyond, and I can talk to Tim also.
Yeah.
Well, you need to talk to him because we impressed him to no
I'm
end.
sure.
I'll tell you
I'm
that.
So
sure.
it sounds like he's pursuing an FFRDC grant that requires a certain matching.
It required a certain.
See,
match.
we could.
What's the
We
return?
there are ways to work around that because it would be in kind. You could do in kind work, and part of that would be
Sure.
Right.
the room that we provide, and
But it still has to be laid out meticulously.
Yes.
and the thing is, Stephen, at the end of that, I don't see the
Right.
gain. Do you see? I mean, it's a good project, but for us, it's not a fit. I don't see that it's a fit.
The net resulting benefit to our ratepayers is
Yeah,
hard to miss.
I mean, we try to coordinate to get communications with the water reservoirs and things like that, the pump stations. If bad actors got in and they were able to identify as us,
Yes, sir.
they could correct. And I'm all up on that. I said, but at the end of the day, when the federal government figures this out, we're going to be a beneficiary of all of that technology anyway. You say?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's basically, it really is. It's a consultant's gig.
Yeah.
That wants to make some money, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with
No,
that.
yeah.
No.
But there's no direct return to us other than we get to.
Unlike now, if you just jump up to this Mr. and I'll never get his name 100%, but you knew who I'm talking about, you know, that we're dealing with this Chintavalli, this energy resource, talking about microgrids and things like that, and distributed energy resources, which we're cutting edge on. I mean, I believe that we will continue to explore that, and I think there's a real opportunity for us to make a positive impact to the public power model within the valley. We can do that because we're already doing that. So that would be more of a here's how to do it kind of thing, other than let's explore an R&D project that's going to help with communication. A good project with good people, not a fit that I saw for us. So now, TVA. Well, we continue to interact with TVA to assist them in formulating an action plan that will provide a pathway for local power companies, LPCs, to emulate Cub's technology and replicate it throughout the valley. That's what they're interested in. On the 13th, Todd and I will be traveling to Johnson City, and that's where the TVA board is meeting. I've been encouraged to speak at their listening session, and both Todd and I have been invited to the board reception, and in addition to that, we've been invited to a private dinner with the board. So that's going to give us an opportunity to really lay it out. One of the board members that is, and you may not have followed a lot of this on Holly Springs in Mississippi, that utility is one of the 153. It is a disgrace, and I would tell that to them publicly. We watched pictures and a report on that. It's the worst thing I've ever seen in my life for a utility. It's just absolutely the worst. Power outages every day for everybody, all the time. Every day there's an outage, so terrible, terrible. So he's very interested because this TVA board member lives on that system. He wants to move to this system. He now knows that Flizzr is not a piece of candy, so that's good. So we're going to go to Johnson City. We're going to engage in that, and hopefully we can help with that. And of course, Jeff Lash is very interested in that. And again, we've hosted over 30 of TVA's folks here already, 5 from EPRI, and on the 15th, we're going to be hosting Carol Imers, who is the TVA's regional vice president, and Chari Buckner, who is the TVA's customer relations manager. They're coming here, and they're asking for a tour of our operations and provide them with advice and suggestions on how TVA can help advance the public power model through improvements in the LPC distribution technology. And finally, as a reminder, I have been requested by TVA to host a group of 10 that are flying in from Washington. This is their Washington delegation, 10 of them. And I don't know how many locals are going to be involved in that, but 10 are flying in. They were scheduled to fly in when the snowstorm came, the weather came, and that stopped everything because everything was closed. So they had to reschedule that, and they did. So this group is being led by the Vice President and Chief of Federal Affairs, Jessica Hogle. And due to that inclement weather, they rescheduled, and now they're set to arrive on March the 19th. And they're interested in touring our operations center. That's my watch. On their operations center, and to gain a better understanding of how we utilize our DVR, Flizzr, and the virtual power plant technologies. So we're excited to showcase our industry-leading technology, and we hope that this visit will be informative to the group, and it's our hope that we're not going to have to go through this presentation to all 10,000 of the employees of TVA, because it seems like now, this will put us up. We're in the 40s already on this, not counting what we've done throughout the valley in talking about this through TVPPA. So all good things. It's all good things. And I think the only frustration that we have is we've been really pushing this for now over a year, and all we have is people coming to talk about it. And I don't see that there's not a lot of action going on, although they promise action. And that's what I hope to ring the bell when I can get to the TVA board. So that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any questions?
Greg, do you have any updates or anything you'd like to share about the snowstorm and how we were able to maintain power through all that?
Yes, thank you, because we like to toot our horn. It was great. We we really did great. We tried to help our neighbors. This wasn't a peak for us, although TVA hit their peak this time around. Our peak was 2014.
All-time.
That vortex, remember that vortex came in? They lost Bull Run at that time. I told them, in newsflash, it gets cold every winter. You really need to prepare for that. And they lost Bull Run because of that vortex. And then when Winter Storm Elliott, they lost so many. They lost 2,000 megawatts because of cold weather. So when we were ready to go, and I mean, other than a couple of transformers,
We had a few transformers and 5, 6 that, over the few days that kind of, you find the weak spots during those times. But
We kept
nothing
looking at the
major.
outage boards and there was nothing
No,
on it.
it was
Right.
very minimal.
yeah,
Very,
we
very-
were thrilled. We were thrilled. But your expectation is when you maintain the lines, and have been very aggressive on the right of way. That's a big thing. Trees fall, branches fall. That causes power outages. So and then we've been reconductoring for quite some time, and we use this low profile aerial cable. You may see it. It's in a tight wad like this. Instead of cross arms coming out, and you got 3 phases across the cross arm. This we tighten up this aerial cable, and it has just worked out really well for us. So when we reconductor that, and then the aggression in the right of way, and the fact that we sound and core our poles, so we can identify weak poles, and then we're out changing them out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and not 2 o'clock in the morning. It's all about serving the customer with the best quality service that we can provide, and we take the steps and pay the money in order to keep us or maintain our system as high as it is. And again, I talk about safety and safety. It's how often are you out and how long are you out, the duration and the frequency. And those numbers have dropped 68 and 70% respectively on how we respond to our customers. And many utilities don't even track those. These are national indices, these safety and safety numbers, because they don't want to know the data on that. It's just amazing. But we always help our neighbors. The only way we'll do that is we take care of our own first. And I don't want to send out crews because at this moment in time we're free, but I don't want a crew gone and they're wore out, and by the time they get back to us they need time off. Because I don't. When as long as we're in a weather event, I always keep reserve here before we send them out, because our first responsibility is to our system, and because we do a good job in maintaining it, doesn't mean we ought to expose ourselves to unnecessary outages because we're shorthanded. So a lot of folks they're thrilled to send them out because they get money for that. They're compensated by another utility, so it lowers actually their maintenance and operational costs, because they're able to offset that with what they can charge another utility for sending crews out. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. We maintain as much as we can when we can on a pretty day, and they're in trouble in Florida. We'll reduce and we'll relieve some of our contract crews to go down there because they are obligated by contract to stay here until we release them. But we have, but we don't often. It's not our first go-to to release our crews.
I get the impression that our community is picking up on how efficient CUB is, from what people are saying.
Tremendous
when I read
response
it.
from this one lady that's
Yes.
sent it out. I forget her name, but Oh, I was really
Yeah.
thankful, and I responded to her,
Yeah, I saw that.
you know, and thanked her for that. It is true. There's no question about it. There's nobody in this region provides the service and the level and the quality that what we do here. Not that they don't want to, they just can't. They just can't do it.
I think we've always known that as far as CUB and the board, but I'm not sure that the community has realized that until lately because I'm hearing a lot more positive.
Well,
People
there's a
say,
lag
yeah,
time between. I don't remember the last time I had an outage. You know, I mean, how long has it been? And then, if I did, how long did it last?
Yeah.
You know, and then when they see on television that TVA dropped a tower in the road, and Lenore City's out, and Oak Ridge is out, and they're out through the weekend on some, and we are 1 minute and 50. That number I've got.
You got that many numbers.
1 minute and 53 seconds without human intervention.
That's great.
I'll tell you almost a funny story to the county with that. You remember when we had a rolling blackouts? a couple
Yes, sir.
years
Oh,
ago?
yes.
I was standing in front of Food City when their power went out. You wouldn't believe the mad people at Food City.
Oh yeah. We were
They
mad
got
too.
over pretty quick.
We we were mad too because that should have never happened. I've told TVA that. I told Jeff Lyons that. I told them all. We told them on the telephone. We were up here Christmas Eve. You know, my sweet granddaughter was at the house, and we were up here. And I'm telling you, I raised my voice. I was because it should have never happened.
And that's why we've been continue to be so vocal over the last year and continue to be vocal now with TVA and TVA board about what needs to happen across the valley. And that's why we're so adamant about trying to help everybody else improve because we're at the end of the day, we're all trying to assist and help keep the lights on for everybody. So we don't as a valley get into that situation again.
Okay. Stephen, you have anything else to
No, I'm
add?
good.
Steve? Well, let me just add my thank you to you
Thank
for what
you.
you're doing and what CUB team's doing because we have a good thing going here. It's very nice to be on the board of something so special.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing none other, the meeting is adjourned.